That's right. You can't wait until they get in your face and bang and go right back. And don't take 30 seconds to fuck. Alexander, I'm the best ever. I'm Sonny Liston, I'm Jack Dippy. There's no one like I'm there for. There's no one that can match me. My style is impeccable. My defense is impregnable. I kept telling he had no clutch, he couldn't hit, he's playing like a sissy, he's missing, let me see your bus. I had him back there, but yet. Like tremendous motivational first down, and Burns gets hurt. Burns got stunned. Rigo is stunned early in the round. Great first round. It's good. Perhaps one of the best in middleweight history. That black guy, he hit hard. Bang, 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 bang. Fire. Bang. Y'all the Marco.
What's going on, my boxing people? Happy holidays to everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. I think that's probably around the time that we left off. Yeah, we got quite a bit of catching up to do. Kovalev Shabrinsky review, Cotto versus Ali, who is supposed to be going off into retirement with this farewell fight. Didn't go according to plan. Speaking of not going to plan, Degale, who loses in a tune-up fight. And of course, definitely going to be talking about Lomachenko versus Rigo. So I am currently doing this podcast very early. So if anyone, most people are probably going to be watching this probably later on. It even goes to explain why my co-host Julius is not here. At least we were going to pod today, but I definitely needed to get it done at this point in time right now, which is 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're currently going under some snowstorm that's on the way. So I got some traveling to do. I need to go up north. So I need to get this done right away. And if I didn't get it done today, I was never going to do it at all. Over the weekend, I was going to try to bring my stuff with me. Cause I always like to, I mean, most of my setup is really, is pretty portable. So I've always, at least I made that an objective with, buying all my stuff. So, when I am like traveling, if I am actually covering a fight and need to just do it from wherever I'm at, it can be done. And typically here I can actually have it done as well, but being with the people I was going to be with, I was never going to be able to get it recorded. So hence me doing it right now. So I am vamping just a little bit right now just to wait for some viewers. Just so I like to have, you guys part of the conversation as well. If my co-host isn't going to be here, so definitely want to get you guys included with it. But that's not to say that I'm going to wait for you guys all day long. I will go on my end. So here. Yeah, this is actually typically stuff I get done before I get rolling, but yeah, we'll just get going. So it's getting kind of hot now too. We're going to just start off with the hottest of topics right now, which still seems to be the Lomachenko result of his stoppage over Guillermo Rigo over this past weekend. An ESPN card, which my co-host, going into this fight, talked about just how little promotion was being made for this fight. And it was just very odd considering the platform that it's on, ESPN. You'd think, come on, if this was a college football game, it'd be a packed afternoon on a Saturday at Buffalo Wild Wings. Because everybody fucking loves football for some reason. But yeah, like there was no promotion at all. The only thing I can actually recall as a pre-fight going into this, or at least actually being like really hyped about, was the weigh-in. Just height seemed to be the difference there, and as well as the way it played out into the fight, it didn't seem too hectic of a situation as far as weight goes to deal with for Rigondeaux, considering Nino Donaire was generally, I think, around the same height of Lomachenko, I think. So no real size issue seemed to be apparent in the ring. But I did say it would obviously play a part if it's a fight like of this magnitude as far as just skill goes, because we know what it means for us as boxing fans, not to the necessarily casual public, but we know that these are two really skilled fighters that we've been wanting to see fight for a couple of years now. Many of us didn't think we were going to get, but when it came down to it, both of these guys are almost damn near even as far as skill goes. And when it comes to that, and you can't really break or at least pick either side, it's just historically from result after result that I've followed, or at least in my years of following through boxing, is just to always go with the guy with the physical advantages from that point, because they'll make the difference. And that's not to say, and that's not to even necessarily say that was the reason for the victory. I, like many of you guys, thought it would be a little bit closer. But apparently the skill set is actually that much better. It wasn't the weight difference, size difference. It was the difference in skill, which is the reason for the title of this video, is because people did not think that, people thought Lomachenko was good. At least I feel like respectively for the people that picked not Lomachenko, but Rigondeaux. Just one moment here. Okay. Sorry about that. But yeah, so the people, even respectively on Lomachenko, or not Lomachenko, but Rigondeaux, were thinking that that he probably wasn't necessarily this good, or at least they gave him credit for being decent. But I mean, hell, even I'm caught off a little bit off guard with this, just because of I didn't think the skill disparity would be that much, but I did think it would be an edge because of him being younger, youthful, a little bit more mobile, and his movement is more persistent. Where, like I said, Rigondeaux's was more concentrated and more like the best move, not the quickest move, but the best move, as far as how Rigo goes about his movement, or at least what makes his movement an edge with other fighters, except here, where Lomachenko just kept. It was the activity, the cagey start and beginning. I actually thought was kind of interesting. Most people had it really close, didn't know who to give it to. I just default, assuming how judges would probably see it, gave the first round to Rigondeaux, even though no one really edged anything, no one really did anything. But there was and I was just studying the movement, with just as far as their like the caginess of the start. And Loma just kept him like busy. Like he didn't know how to guard up or like high or low. The jab was like, he was just, keeping him thinking the whole time. And it was just, you could tell it was a very frustrating experience for Rigondeaux, and we'll speak about that frustration in a bit. But overall, it's the movement and of course activity played a major role, and then it's what I think is, because obviously you guys know the result of this fight was Lomachenko getting the stoppage, Rigondeaux quitting after I believe the fifth round, fifth or sixth. I believe it was going into the sixth, right? And he, said something was regarding his hand, even though he had no signs or no issues alluding to this prior, to any other times he came back to the corner. He never made any type of reference throughout the fight with it. It was something he brought up right then and there. And it honestly, if you watch the fight live, it looked like he was ready to go. It was almost like it was just toward the point where, like seconds out where, everybody was about to start clearing up. And then like, it seemed like the decision was made, like, oh, wait, you know what? I think I might not want to do this. My hand, I think there's a bone going somewhere. Just get me out of this fight. It just seemed like someone just get me out of this fight. What do you guys think like led to that, man? I mean, it's the whole situation. Here's the thing. I had to, the situation I was in, I had to, and thankfully ESPN had the app, viewing the fight. And I was actually, like on the go watching the fight. And I'm getting messages, alerts through my other groups of guys who are just pretty much just like live streaming it, just or live feed, should I say. And all of a sudden I'm seeing he quit before anything's even like clarified on the screen. I'm like, what are you kidding me? What are you talking about? Like, how's he? No, he's not gonna. He did. He fucking quit. And he did, and it's strange. It's really strange, just because there wasn't really any major blows that were landed in this fight. I think the most notable shots that come to mind for me was when the middle where they were holding, and Lomachenko just quickly slipped out of it and just like, because I think Steve Willis had told them to work out of it. I think he first made it a warning, like, all right, you guys work out of it. If he's going to, keep holding, just work out of it. And Lomachenko is trying to just slip out of it. And I think he went over what was it, a left hand that came over the top? But he just hit him with a nice two-piece where like it kind of got Rigo a little stiff for a second. He didn't think like, wait, what the fuck? Like, oh, he's allowed to hit me? Oh yeah, that's right, because you did say work out. But that was about it. And then there was, there was the fact that he's getting like the movement is clearly like it's now evident that he's kind of boxing circles around you. There's that, element. See, and Rigo's such a quiet guy, and he doesn't speak English. This is so hard to read. Like, I'm really trying to get to a psychological level with Rigo on any possible way that I can maybe justify it, but there's just no way. I picked Lomachenko to win. So I'm vindicated. Actually, while we're speaking about it, as far as the big fight records go, my track record for the past 2017 hasn't been bad at all. I think my only one fight I was off with was what was it, the Ward fight, the rematch. The draw doesn't count though with Golovkin, right? So I'm like, that's a draw for me. But yeah, I've been doing pretty good. But anyway, I'm vindicated in it, but I'm just still trying to get to an understanding on why that could be the case. because of course now with this happening, you know, the label of a quitter is being thrown on to him, and I hate when I really don't like fighters being labeled that. But I mean, in this showcase like this is one of the few incidents where it can definitely be warranted that this dude flat out quit. This is I mean there was no way. There's no way to justify what he did, seeing that, like I said, with the injury that didn't seem apparent at any point in time earlier into the fight, up into that very moment, where I believe, and it's really weird now that I'm thinking about it too, because people will, and we'll get to the fan reaction soon. Of just, I believe there was around a time where it was like Lomachenko had taunted him on the way to the corner, in the same fashion that he taunted Nicholas Walters. We told him to go sit the fuck down or some shit like that. Really strange, guys, right? I mean, this is it's not my problem. I'm right, so I don't need to stress over it. I just think it's just really weird incident. And I mean, for a guy that wanted this fight so bad, that was on Twitter for so long and trolled Loma for so long, to do this when you get the opportunity, there's no excuse. I'm trying, but there really isn't. So that being the case, he is suffering the blowback. There's been pictures online that have been, you know, trying to say, hey, look, you know, here's a picture of Rigo with his glove off, where his hand might be hurt, and it looks like, pretty much for me, an enlarged picture of the knuckle area where it's just like a glint of light. But even if it is, it doesn't look like much. It's whatever, man. And I guess that does lead me into the fan reaction now, because the reason why I say I'm vindicated as far as being right with this one is because of the pushback, man, and the cockiness from so many of these people that were riding with Rigo. You know, Bo Bland was very staunch in his support, which, I mean, that's his compatriot there, so I understand it. Our own Ibn Dawood was was very brash in his expectations of what he wanted to hear the Lomachenko supporters say after, you know, Rigo whoops his ass and all that. So I'm not hearing too much of that anymore. I mean, just overall, I mean, it's the reason why I find it a little like funny and kind of like, come on, how did you not see this? Is, again, it goes back to the physical attributes that made the difference with guys that were pretty damn solid skill wise, amateur backgrounds to the root. All right, these are guys almost two of the best amateur boxers. So why wouldn't you think Lomachenko would at least have something to negate whatever, you know, Lomachenko or Rigondeaux could come with? And then, like I said again, I mean, I feel like I'm repeating this over and over, but again, the physical attributes make a difference. You never, if guys, or you see equally in skill level, but one is naturally a bigger guy. I mean, what is it, a great big man, little man theory? I mean, you know, fucking grandfathers used to always tell those stories. But I mean, it's essentially the same thing. It's a bigger guy who's just as good as you. Not in your favor at all, unless you got to have something like in here to have that, like, to make the difference. And speaking of, looks like Glamour Rigondeaux didn't have much of that in here. So on to the next, I guess, right? So yeah, there was a review of that. Miguel Cotto, who is now retired, had his last fight in Madison Square Garden, appropriately location there. Unfortunately, though, the result not to be desired, losing to Saddam Ali, who many of just us boxing fans saw coming in as a cherry pick for Cotto, looking for an easy touch on the way out, which, I mean, again, we can't necessarily blame, but it's like, come on, like, what are you doing? Like, you really going to sell me this? But lo and behold, Saddam Ali had other things in mind. I got to say, the reason I think for most, the reason why I didn't look into much of what Saddam Ali had to offer in this fight is because of his performance with Jesse Vargas. And yeah, it's, that fight for me just made me think, he down the line, or at least that fight told me that, like, when things get tough, I don't think he has the heart to, endure and then go up the next level. Like, there's some guys, like, things get tough, they're met right at it, like they're level right with the thick of the shit that they're in. Then there's guys that can just go above and beyond with whatever that like that adversity hits, and then they're ready to jump it. For me, he seemed like that kind of fighter who was, met with the challenge, might just stay right there in the mud. And a little bit, I thought this was what this would be. If anything, I thought Cotto would just wash him rather easily. But of course, Cotto, like I said, Cotto loses this fight. I believe it was a majority decision. And he tears his bicep apparently in the 7th or 8th round. Now, here's the thing, as far as the reaction to this, because there's the pushback of, well, if he was hurt, and obviously you guys can't go too hard on him because he was injured. I got it. I understand that. But I can't rest on that, thinking that was the reason for the victory, if I didn't see those previous 7 rounds. Now, anyone that watched the fight noticed those. Surprisingly, Saddam Ali held his own and actually hurt Cotto several times up to that point. It just caught me way the fuck off guard. Did not see. I really didn't think Ali had anything for Cotto. It's essentially to get the reason why we all assumed he was a cherry pick, but when he was met with the adversity, he stuck with it. He had a game plan that he wanted to fulfill once, that, started to carry its way out, and he did it. So I can't, so while, yeah, I understand he was injured, I'm not going to ignore, though, he didn't take care of business in the first 7 rounds, though. But in regards to Cotto, best wishes to him. I know his family is definitely happy about this retirement, especially his wife. You ever see the video? She's the worst when it comes to him fighting. Like, she absolutely hates it as much as any of our significant others really would. So, good for him. He definitely had a very decent career, very good career. And people are probably thinking I'm saying that as an understatement. But I have anybody that knows me, especially my fellow admins, know that I'm quite critical of Miguel Cotto as far as his whole career goes. I think I might have the hot take among my peers when I say that I always felt that Cotto is going to be a Hall of Fame fighter for sure. He's not going to go down as a great fighter, though, for me. You can't lose all the major fights that you had. For me, he's going to go down in a Wilfred Benitez type of role, where, like, he wasn't in that clique of the good fighters of the era, but he was there, and he was definitely an entity there. He was a live body. But no, he's not going to be an all-time great for me. I mean, somebody might have some harsh feedback for me for that, but I'm open for the debate on it. We can definitely talk about this. Anyway, let's go. I actually haven't checked the chat in a minute, so while I'm doing that, Simon, if you're still watching, what was I gonna do? We were about to jump into Kovalev Shabrinsky. Not really gonna sit on this much because this is supposed to be Kovalev's comeback. I'm here, now that Andre Ward is gone, I'm here to rule again. With a knockout of Shabrinsky, who I actually did cover live once in Philadelphia, in a fight that I believe that was on Fox Sports, that was taped on. And this was his showcase, and he was actually stunned by the journeyman twice, and actually almost fucking lost that fight. And that was like the first fight I've ever covered. And yeah, so that always just stuck in my mind when it came to Shabrinsky. I honestly, I actually did wonder when the next time we'd see him again, but I didn't expect him to be a Kovalev opponent. And sure enough, here he is, and so when it's announced that he gets the fight, I assume, like, all right, well, that's an easy at least 2-round knockout. But the fact, I mean, the reaction, you would have thought this, like, Kovalev is like back, like he almost like knocked out like a Barrera or something. I didn't take that much credit. Like I said, this is a chinny guy against a perceived power puncher, which is seemed to be a bit diminished now these days, but still somewhat of a world-class power puncher. Why wouldn't he knock this guy out? But apparently that's that was breaking news to some folks. So credit to him. Who's he fight next? Does he fight a Bivol, who also was showcased on HBO, I believe, the next weekend? Who his people, Bivol, are saying they're not necessarily centered on Kovalev, but they're almost expecting that it is on the horizon. So, they're ready. And as far as who I could pick out of that, more and more, I think the illusion of Kovalev being the monster or like a scary figure in the lightweight division, I mean, that has just been stripped down. Dang, I didn't even know I got off the air. What the hell? That was fucked up. Anyway, but yeah, so some will have him, or at least when it comes to Gennady Golovkin, you know, going from number 3 to number 2 is because of the move of Andre Ward, which happens, like I said. But seeing that he only drew, that gets him kind of moved back to the number 3 spot, where I would have Terrence Crawford in the number 1 position. Now, here's where we can get a little funny with this. And this is why, again, I don't like to participate with the pound for pound list, because they're all subjective and you find yourself arguing for hours over nothing. None of it. You're arguing over Santa's naughty and nice list. Holiday season feel. That's essentially what you're doing. But so this is why I said I don't participate in it, because for me, when I ever assessed a for pound fighter, or even just all-time great fighters, for me, at least how I judge them, a lot of it is based off the eye test. I don't know about many of you guys, but when I think of pound for pound fighter, I think of, all right, if these guys were the same size, who would win? Now, if it's too far-fetched, if like the weights are just way different, because you know there's only things you can get away with at one weight limit than you can in another. So I mean, so a lot of things are really taken into consideration when I try to get this done. So when that doesn't work, you what is it? It's the resume, or for me, what I use. Other, like if it's too big of a margin, it's just overall skill set. Like if I'm seeing what this fighter displays for his arsenal to get the job done, that will also play a role for me. And with that said, I wouldn't be upset with anyone that has Lomachenko number 1. Like I can feel, like I can hear all this nigga right here, this dude right here. I can't believe I can hear it right through your I can hear it right through your screens right now. But come on, if it's based off what I'm seeing a fighter's getting done, like the talent that he is displaying night after night after night, that plays a role for me. That's how I assess, like, how good are you skillfully? You know what I mean? And then the competition is always one thing to be taken in consideration, of course, too, which is why resume at least is 3rd on my, indicator for evaluation. So Loma actually does hold some weight in that department. So he's pretty much okay with me being number 2 or 1. But I understand him being 2 as well. While I would, on talent, go right for Lomachenko. Loma, for me, is like premier talent of boxing right now for me. Terrence Crawford, though, is a master of just, like, it's different. They're 2 different, really, like, admirable qualities of the highest regard in boxing. But yeah, I just favor Loma as far as like what I'm actually seeing, though. But Terrence Crawford is one bad motherfucker. Don't get me wrong. He's he can do it all. He can do it all. So yeah, that's Loma's status pound for pound for me goes. Now Saunders, Billy Joe Saunders versus David Lemieux is this weekend. In a fight that seems to have quite the bad blood. A lot of these, anytime, fighters are referencing about physically, like, killing each other in the ring, it's bad. And especially knowing the stigma that boxers are aware of night in and night out when they, put those hand wraps on, that they are very well putting their life at risk. So that's kind of like one of those taboo things that, fighters try to avoid saying. So like that's what I mean. You know, it's personal if they're actually saying this shit. So yeah, for me, I I'm just glad that Billy Joe Saunders is actually doing a meaningful fight. He's not doing some random X X-Men fighter. He's not fighting Logan this time in the pockets of England. He's actually trying to go for it. He's trying to fulfill his duty as champion. And for me, he's making the statement that it's it being David Lemieux, you know, an old GGG foe, which is always evident with fighters. Like if you're going to fight someone that lost against the champion, you're pretty much opening yourself up to that comparison of how you guys handled both fighters. So I think, and so he's definitely aware of that with that move being made. So we'll see. We'll see what he's all about, man. You know, he's turned down numerous fights that could have really got the floodgates opened with him. As for, you know, getting out there, especially in for the American audience. But here he is. That's something's woken him up to, you know, get his shit together. Him and Tyson Fury must have had some type of, you know, some type of awakening, divine intervention just compelled them, because they all of a sudden they're just singing different tunes now. And we'll speak about Tyson Fury in a little bit. But yeah, he seems to be locked in, focused. He's got you know, a steadfast trainer that can, you know, keep him focused. I mean, he's looking and sounding, you know, the part. So we'll see. However, though, given I can only go off the experience of what I know of Billy Saunders, I was never really blown away by what I've seen of him as a fighter. He, you know, he's mildly slick. He's a moving fighter, and likes to, or at least he's most effective when he's active, when he's the active fighter. That's how he beat Eubank Jr. He just outworked him. And you know, that's him at, honestly, for me, at his best. But given that, that's just the breach of world class to me. So he's quite lucky for me to still have the title. I think that's why he's been fucking about for as long as he has. And that remains to me. I mean, he can't turn into a better fighter within one fight for me to totally change my mind on this. Now, while it could very well be the case that he outboxes David Lemieux, he's just, you know, he's just moving and jabbing and, you know, I wouldn't say have his way, but he's it's the fight more on his terms. I can see that. But it's just a lot to ask for with a David Lemieux, who is a fucking bull in that fight, in that ring, man. He's shown with that Stevens knockout. He's not one you want to let wail on you too long, or even you don't want it to punch almost at all. He's you know, everyone knows his game plan. He's just coming in to hurt you as much as he can. Technique leaves, you know, a bit to be desired as well. There's not much cutting off. If anything, you could be really critical. There's nothing wrong with being a pressure fighter, but there's you know, it's wrong if you're, you know, if there's no strategy behind it or no type of technique, you know, to get things to go in your favor so you can pressure. And that's always been a frustrating thing, and that's been the real separation for world-class pressure fighters, is that if they ever had a strategy. Marcus Maidana is another one of those fighters that just did not look that great fighting at all, but he was smart about the pressure he applied. And there was there was a tactic with it, a strategy. And David Lemieux, for me, he's in between right now. He can he's effective. I'll tell you what, he's effective at what he does. It's not many things he has in his tool belts, but what he has, that hammer and chisel, he does very, very well. He can do quite well for himself with those two tools. So if you're asking me to believe in Saunders, that he's made the complete revelation of this top-notch boxing fighter, that he's this untapped potential that he's, that he has deep within him, gets shown up this night, I don't know. I think that's a lot to ask for. And I would favor Lemieux in a little late stoppage. If it's early, something went terribly wrong, and Saunders got caught. Saunders would get caught. Now, this could be a fight, though, where Lemieux gets dropped, too. Not hurt necessarily. I mean, maybe. I mean, he actually might. Yeah, I feel like a flash knockdown could be on the way for Lemieux, too. But if it does get to that, then it's probably also pretty chippy too, which is not the fight that Billy Joe Saunders wants. But again, I'm still favoring him to get that late stoppage. That's the only way I see Lemieux actually winning this. So we'll see how that goes. Saunders, though, with a lot on the line. He's definitely making a statement, so it is commendable. Either of these guys losing isn't a major setback. Lemieux, I feel like, could really just respond with just another fight. And he's right back in the mix. Saunders, though, however, if he loses a title, he loses relevance majorly to me, because he was already perceived as being right for the picking for the top guys in the division. So if he loses, it's just pretty much essentially he's being found out. So that's why I feel like it's only right that he's taking this serious. So we could very well see the best Saunders, but I feel like that's still like about a 20% chance of happening. Now, Orlando Salido, who also fought this past weekend, lost TKO round 9 on HBO. He had retired after the fight, and that was at least one of the major breaking news. And I actually the reason why I wanted to bring him up as well is because of part of this Lomachenko reaction. At least the answer for the Lomachenko fans, who actually are going kind of nuts right now. A lot of posts are just reckless, savage as hell. I love it, though. It's still funny, but and guys will go out of control a little bit. Let's just stop acting surprised when guys celebrate their victories. These fans are going all out. They'll say some crazy shit, like so you'll expect to hear the Mayweather comparisons, even though they're a lot of the times they're not warranted. Expect it. Stop acting so surprised all the time. And these guys really get touched whenever you bring up Mayweather, man. And it's that's around the time you just don't want to be on the page. But yeah, so Salido, though, has been the reference, though, for these guys, as far as the it's almost like the raid spray for Lomachenko fans. It's like, oh, well, Salido, but you lost to Salido. You still need a rematch, Salido, though. That was the response to this. And I did make a live video on Ring IQ about this, because I think anyone in their right mind understands that it doesn't matter if he fights Salido at this point right now. I think this is one of the most comfortable predictions I can make of at least for a hypothetical fight, is that Lomachenko would whoop Salido's ass right now. I don't think that's hard at all I don't think that's still like, oh, I mean, well, yeah, you can say that, but he still needs to fight him. No, he doesn't. That's too clear. That is almost a waste of a training camp and a waste of anybody's money that goes to the thing, knowing the very outcome of that. No, we don't need to see that. We know what it is. You don't need to create it. It's honestly, it's just a roadblock just to have something in your back pocket to say, well, we got this on you. Let it go. Salido's done. He's admitted it. Stop looking into the figures of what Salido could deserve if a rematch is. He doesn't deserve a rematch. Even right now, he just lost again. He just shouldn't be getting one. Shouldn't be a rematch. He shouldn't be discussing any type of split because he doesn't deserve the fight, period, at all. It shouldn't happen. Don't talk about it. Don't even entertain it. Just tired of hearing about that one. So yes, Salido, you're good. Retire in peace. Don't listen to these guys. CMD box and you're going with Billy Joe by decision. You know, you're probably one of many that I've honestly, I think I only know about 2 other people that are actually, I wouldn't say going with Lemieux. Well, I am going with Lemieux because I can't stand Billy Joe Saunders. Like, he is an asshole entirely. But I can't let that sway on how I assess him as a fighter. And he is decent. Like I said, he's breaching world-class level to me. But yeah, I just feel like there's a lot to ask for Billy Joe Saunders to do in this fight. And there's even some that are even saying that, like, Billy Joe is going to school Lemieux. What? Some things that are just so crazy. It's like, I don't need, like, that's so crazy. This is a clear competitive fight. I mean, I understand, the irony of saying this a week removed from another fight that was perceived to be pretty competitive. But like I said, unless Billy Joe has some divine inner potential that went untapped this whole time, I doubt it. So that's me. And second to lastly, before I get to the last topic, the returns of Luis Ortiz, Kell Brook, and Tyson Fury are on the way. Ortiz had fought and was confronted by Deontay Wilder, who was calling the fight, I believe, ringside, demanding that they get their match back en route to getting done, which we would like to get done. I think a lot of Wilder fans are a little bit upset about that. They really wanted to go straight to AJ, which we already discussed was never going to happen right away. It's always something that was going to happen probably toward the latter portion of next year. So anyone's a fool for thinking it would happen right away. So he's now kind of, like I said, trying to get back into the discussion of that Wilder fight. So it looks like Wilder may have his hands full for at least the first half of the month. And Kell Brook, who will be fighting not Sam Eggington, as it was rumored for the past few weeks, but chenko. Forgot the guy's first name. But obviously, that being said, it's a showcase. It's a welcome back, Kell Brook. Hope your eye's okay. Don't hurt or break anything in your face type of fight. So, it's good to see him back. I think he will be, though, starting or at least fighting in the 154-pound division for that fight. This does seem to be a little bit quick for me, though. Spence fight was over this spring. So it, and I do, recall around the time of the fight happening, a lot of us were thinking that, he should probably be off for at least like at the very least a year. And so here he is now within 8 months now of the fight and already having a fight lined up. I gotta say, I'm a little concerned with this fight. It's not necessarily that of who he's fighting. It's just the return is a little too quick for me. I don't think this guy is going to give him any issue at all. I don't know. I mean, I feel like, and hopefully I'm wrong. I just hope that Kell Brook is not one of those unfortunate tales we tell in boxing. So best wishes to him. Hopefully, he just really needs to take it easy, for fuck's sake, man. And Tyson Fury, last but very certainly not least, Tyson Fury. His boxing ban has been removed. He's come to a deal with UCAD that he retroactively pretty much served his 2-year ban. So they've now we'll, I guess, let him fight this next year. And Eddie Hearns already has a few proposed fights for him. So it's I guess good to have the Gypsy King back. So he's can finally I wouldn't say shut the fuck up, but at least finally add some fighting to all the damn talk. I mean, because he's just been talking for the past 2 years now, doing nothing about it. It's like, so you're just a shit talking, you're just a shit talking retired fat guy. Like, who are you? So now that's back, and like I said, Eddie Hearns has some things worked up for him where he can possibly fight. They're really pushing this Anthony Joshua fight. This must be a really big deal to you guys over there in the UK. I'm not gonna lie. I guess that does seem like a pretty decent ass fight. Yeah. Oh well. So yeah. So Tyson Fury's back. I could care less. Anthony Joshua still reigns supreme as the heavyweight king. Some will disagree with me. And actually point that at. I mean, honestly, there's a few different coalitions there. There's some that think the Wilder is the king of the division. Anthony Joshua seems to be the perceived favorite. And then Tyson Fury, who has the first victory over Klitschko, and just never had a chance to really justify his role from there. But it is kind of his fault. Fucking cheater. All right, and lastly, the numbers are in for Mayweather Pacquiao, or not Mayweather Pacquiao, but Mayweather and fucking McGregor. Sorry, but for the pay-per-view numbers, at they're posting on ESPN that it was 4.3 million views, pay-per-view buys and views for the event, which still is second to Mayweather Pacquiao, of course, boxing ring supreme. But as it always comes with these numbers, I always go to my boy Rick Lacer here, who has his own intel and people on the insides, where he actually has that the numbers were 3.2 million, because that these numbers were also thrown in together globally for the first time. Mayweather Pacquiao was actually reviewed just by the States only. Yeah, so that's what he's actually perceiving, that the US buy rate was actually 3.2 million here. So for me, that just goes again to point out to you, and even some of you boxing fans are out there falling for this. MMA fans are still under the idea that boxing's dead. No one watches it anymore. It's not popular. It's boring. But you know what? Your asses still come out to show out, and you guys are still watching these major fights. And honestly, it's boxing's kind of kicking the UFC's ass right now in numbers too. So fuck what you heard. Boxing's still alive and kicking. All right. That is it. That is the whole pod. That is all the whole list we got done there. Everything's checked off. Oh my God. Yeah, we didn't. I don't think we mentioned Teddy Atlas being dropped off ESPN. Unfortunately, I feel like that is somewhat of a hit for ESPN if they are trying to keep touch with the boxing fan, the general boxing fan, because a lot of guys hold a certain attachment to him. You know, myself included. Um, Friday night fights was my way of, really trying to tap into the, I guess I wouldn't say mainstream, but just an understanding on the boxing world. Because really, that was really the only access. You had Wednesday night fights and Friday night fights. Teddy Atlas and Joe Tessitore were there, calling some great fights in the past. Teddy Atlas give you the breakdown with him and that quiet ass dude on the set that he always has, but always ready and shit. Like, yeah, I'm ready to move. But yeah, I mean, that's how I spent my Friday nights in high school. Back when I got no play and had no friends, was just just order Stromboli, watch Friday night fights, and just have a good old time, drink some beer. It was, I can say it's a little of a bit of a nostalgic time. But yeah, unfortunately, his outbursts that many found entertaining seemed to be the reason for the dismissal. Said he was, a little bit too much to handle on the set at times. So they said they will keep him around though for an analyst role. So the way they try to ease him in on this past weekend with having him like, you know, not necessarily on set, but from home, doing a screen like a headshot, and yeah, it's unfortunate. That's a hard personality to fill. So best wishes to Teddy Atlas. I'm sure he'll find some work and he'll be okay. I'm sure, man. He's got plenty of good money, and he can always still train. Train. I mean, I feel like the fraternity of boxing, those guys just don't like to be doing nothing for a while. They got to be active, even retirement. So best of wishes to him. And yeah, so that was it. So you guys know where to catch me. Ring IQ Boxing Group, page I admin for UK Boxing Group as well. And if you like football, global football, FC Hooligans is also another Facebook group that I admin for. And again, if you haven't subscribed or if you know somebody that would like this conversation that you just heard today, have them subscribe, reach out, share, comment, anything you feel, hit me up. And then we'll be able to do a year-end review very soon too. I'll try to grab all the hands on deck that I possibly can. I want to get everybody, Ed and Bo, Julius, all you guys. I'll try to get you on for the year-end review. So until then, peace out. Have a Merry Christmas. And guys, be safe out there if it snows in your area, because I'm about to drive up in this shit right now. So take care.